Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, there's a slight delay. Orientation coming your way. No, that's the wrong button. Hello, hello, hello. I can see a few of you. I am just trying to figure out my buttons. Right. Done it again, haven't I? I've managed to come in this way. I thought I had the orientation sorted. So I need to rotate you. Rah! That's it. Pardon? I'm making you all dizzy now. I'm just... Right, that's my palette. You don't need my palette. Well, I'll talk you through. Hello, everybody. How are we all doing? Yeah, I can't. I'll leave it as it is. I shall leave it as it is. Thanks, Gertie. Right. I've got my laptop up so I can see what I'm doing. And I am going to paint a froggy today on one of these wooden slices. Now, this is just one of those wooden slices that you can get at any of your like hobby stores. I picked this up from Hobbycraft and it was about £3.50. So that's not bad, is it? Right then, and the colours I am using today, I'm using a mixture of Peebo and Liquitex, and these are the heavy bodies. So I have turquoise blue, ultramarine violet, cadmium yellow, burnt sienna. I have phthalo green, Mars black, titanium white, and olive light green. By there. So we're not going to worry too much about seeing those inside. What I want to make sure of is you can see this bit, which I'm going to be making sure I am lined up. Now, earlier today, I made sure to Mod Podge it to seal it up, and then I just gave it a coating of some titanium white. Okay. It's a good idea to do it. You can use the other stuff, gesso, but I don't really like using gesso. It's not something that I tend to use. It's just not something I've ever really bothered with before. I've got a bunch of new brushes to try out as well. So I picked them up from they're Nick Pro, and I picked them up from Temu of all places. The paintbrush snob went on Temu. Right, where's my sheet of tissue? There it is. Oh, I need my trusty kitchen roll. And just as we're all getting ready and we're all settling in as well, I just want to make sure, do I sound okay? I'm using my new microphone and I just want to check that I sound good to you guys. Not that there's much I can do about it because the controls are on my phone somewhere. All good? Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay. And just before we start as well, checking this out, tomorrow needs you. I'm doing lots of, I've put in these little things on my camera arm here. I've actually, these are stickers and I've UV resined them and I've put on little magnets because it's all metal. But it's an important thing for you to remember. Tomorrow absolutely needs you because I need you guys, okay? I know lots of us are going through lots of things at the moment and it's hard. Things are hard, times are hard. Everything's rubbish, but we're getting there. Right, if you've been with me before for painting, I like to start off with my background, obviously, because, you know, if you don't do the background, what are you going to do? I'm actually going to add some phthalo blue to my palette as well. And it's going to be a red shade because I want a darker blue tone to start with. There we go. It's a much darker blue than the Peebo. I've never used these acrylic Peebos before. They are new in my local hobbycraft. I've always stuck with Senlier and Golden and stuff like that. So they're quite nice. This is what they come in now. But they're not massively expensive, which is quite nice, really. So there we go. So I'm going to start off with my darker background. And obviously it is Froggy FriYAY. So I'm going to be doing a painting of a frog. Now, I've only ever done one painting of a frog for Froggy FriYAY. And it was not recorded. It wasn't live at all. So I like to paint circles and swirls. It's one of my favourite things to do. And when I'm starting off painting, I like to start with the darker tone, and I make my way around, and I will start off darker. I will be using a hairdryer because we haven't got the time to be waiting for paint to dry. Although I don't mind having a little chit chat with you, obviously. You're all wonderful. And I'm going to try and make sure as much as possible that I'm not getting my hand too much in the way. I've realised that I've put the palette on the wrong side of me, but I was all set up and then I forgot once again about the orientation. And last time I did a live, the orientation I kind of fluffed up, then I went offline, and I don't want to be doing that. Martin is in the chat, as well as the amazing John and Gertie, who act as my awesome, wonderful, supportive moderators. Martin is in there as well, though. So if you do have any questions whatsoever that you'd like to ask away, put them in caps. Where possible, put them in capital letters, just so Martin doesn't miss them, because he's old and blind as a bat.
Doesn't have his glasses on.
And doesn't have his glasses on. Aren't we organised? We've been in the shop today. We've been managing the shop. For those of you that don't know, have a place in a local shop, which is a artist's, basically run by artists. And we've been open a year now. We opened a year ago on the 28th of June. And it just had its first birthday. But we were in there today, restocking and working a bit, but it was a quiet day. I started getting a really bad headache with my, the cervical problems I have in the top of my spine. So we had to close shop early. But we only went in as a favour anyway, because it's that time of year when everybody's got sports days for their kids to go to. So no one else could really make it in today, so we did it as a favour. So we didn't feel so bad closing early. Well, I don't think we did at all, because it was really quiet and we were really bored. There we go. So as you can see, I'm making my way round with this darker blue. Well, I say blue, I've mixed in my phthalo blue with Mars Black, and I've been adding little bits of white now and again. What that makes is more of a Payne's grey. And now you can buy Payne's grey, but I think it's great to be able to make any colour paints yourself. And that's how I learned. I only buy specific colours now because I can. And because I've learned more. But as much as possible, I'm also trying, I want to keep that little bit of wood that goes around the edging, because I quite like that. It's like your natural frame, isn't it? So there we go. We've got our first layer. Just like that. But as it's a warm day and as this is acrylic paint, it doesn't actually take that long at all to dry. I'm just going to get in there like that. Now, what's Froggy Friday? I know a lot of you already know because you do come weekly, and a lot of you do take part in Froggy Friday, which is awesome. But Froggy Friday is a collaboration that was started by Karen at the Dragon's Cave and Lisa from Girl in the Garage. And then a good few months ago, myself, Tim, the base resonator, and Gert from Gert Creates started jumping on board and started helping out. And it's grown and it's grown and it's growing. And we're all loving it. So it's helped out by a bunch of others. And it's really lovely to see so many talented creators coming together. I'm going to just wing it, basically. I have an idea of what I want to create. Obviously, there's going to be a frog. Martin's laughing because I am, because he is. So I'm just adding that mixture that I already created to the turquoise blue. And this turquoise blue, it is absolutely beautiful. And it's going to give a really lovely tone coming up. Almost ombre, but not. It's not so easy to do an ombre effect on wood. It's possible, but it's not very easy. And I'm going to be moving this wooden slice around to save my neck and my shoulders. I am actually standing at the moment. I'm very lucky to have a fantastic desk, which is electric. So I can move it up and down, and it can aid me when I'm creating. Because standing up is good for the spine, even though it doesn't feel like it. Apparently it's good for it. Who'd have thought, eh? So down towards the bottom, I'm just gonna blend in a little bit, much more with the phthalo blue. Just to give that the impression that it's a little bit darker in this space down by here. I want, like, not necessarily a nighttime scene, but I love painting with the blues, but I didn't really want it to be daylight either. So one of those funny times of the day where we're not quite there yet. It's not quite dusk, but it's that funny late time of the afternoon when everyone starts feeling a little bit tired, wanting their nana naps. I love a nana nap. I'm not going to be afraid of just really going with this brush now. It's what they're for. Don't treat your brushes with kid gloves. Look after them, clean them up afterwards, and you will keep your brushes going for a good long time. So I'm really liking that colour effect now as we're going up and down. There we go. And you'll notice as well, I've got my jug of water. I've only touched it so far for the to actually wet the brush. And I'm also trying out a new wet palette. I usually use a really big wet palette. It's actually by Stay Wet. But I've picked this up. It's a Nick Pro one, and it's smaller. But it's already starting to dry at the edges, which I'm a little... I am a little bit surprised by, because my my actual wet palette lasts for hours usually, but as I say, it is quite warm in the UK right now. I've not been painting as much as I usually would, And because I used to paint a lot more than I did resin, I always used to have humidifiers and stuff during the summer to help my paint. Because, of course, acrylic paint likes to dry fast. There we go. I'm really liking this now, the colours. And just blendy, blendy, blendy. I'm just going around there now, more just with the wet brush, and I've not added any extra colour to it. As you see, I'm just dipping my brush in the water off onto there, and I'm getting that swirl. I don't know why, I just love swirls with painting. So I'm really, really happy with that. I think it's a really good beginning. I'm glad that it does, Gertie. I think Martin has just said that he thinks it might have been the way he done it. We'll blame Martin. But I think he didn't have this wet enough. That's what she said. It needs to be moist, you see. It needs to be moist. Right, now and again, I am going to have to put you on a mute because I don't think you want to be listening to my hairdryer. Avert your eyes, Gertie. I've got stickers covering this. Haha. So I'm just going to put you on mute. Right then, it is dry. And what you got to remember, and this is just a really important tip if you are new to painting or, you know, taking it up and maybe been painting a while but new to YouTube, and you need to dry between your layers. If you're using a hairdryer, you need to use the coolest setting you have. Mine has an awesome cool setting on it. Because if you don't, you can cause colour shift. And what that is when the paint underneath the topper layer, it'll move. Yeah, and you don't want to cause that because you could be creating something wonderfully beautiful and then you cause the colour shift to happen and it all goes to pot. So I'm going to use this. It's just chalk, but it's also known as a tailor's pen. You can get them on Amazon. They're really inexpensive, and it's just one of these that you get your chalk, and in the set you get loads of these chalks and they just go on in there like that, and it's just easier than the big chunky chalk. But if you use regular chalk and you have a good pencil sharpener, you can always sharpen the edge of it so you're not dealing with a really chunky kind of chalk. And what I like to do is use it for getting my sketch. And I'm looking at a reference that I found on Pixabay. Now, I've recommended Pixabay to quite a few people, and Pixabay is an awesome site in the sense that they've given you permission. You've got permission to use images, and you've got permission to use music, sound sources, and stuff like that. You can pay for like a pro version, which allows you access to more stuff and bigger like files and stuff. But it's what I've used in the last couple of months for making videos, for like the collaborations, for the music collaboration and for the Jurassic one, and it was really helpful. So I've got my first impressions there of my Froggy, and I'm going to give him a smile. I do not paint, I never paint like lives, you know, real life. I don't paint that kind of thing because I'm not that talented. That is a talent. But I love just doing the cartoony, fun sort of stuff. You can see there that it wasn't quite dry. So instead of my chalking on it, my chalk has scratched on it. So I'm going to be a little bit wary around that bit. And I'm going to be careful with his eyes. And then we're going to we'll start getting this back colour of this Froggy. And I need to go down the brush size. And I'm going to go for my little... This is one of my posh ones. And I'm going to go straight into my Phthalo Blue and Mars Black.
What was the name of the app again? No?
Pixabay. Yeah, you're looking for the app Pixabay. And whenever you want some reference pictures for painting or for creating videos, it's great. And I've been using it for years. It was actually the art Sherpa who's no longer, you know, she's very sadly not with us anymore. She's who got me onto that. It's grown since I first started using it. It's a much bigger app these days. Right, this is the beginning. This is where people lose hope. It's the really messy stage of painting. It's where you're doing like your first layers, and you've just gotta know that it's gonna be okay. Oh dear. I think everybody is capable, absolutely capable of painting. Even if you say you can, I bet you can. I bet absolutely that you can. Or I could at least teach you. A ninja frog.
That's an idea.
That is a good idea. He looks quite cross at the moment because I'm using I'm not using the right brush. I need a more directed brush, to be honest with you. But I'm having to start introducing all new brushes now because I've been painting for over 5 years now. And all my original brushes have really started to see their end of days. But I got so used to using those wonderful brushes that I'm not finding brushes right now that I'm really, really comfortable with or happy with. I know it's weird, but those who paint will get it. They'll absolutely get it. Just looking at my other brushes. So I got this other one here as well. And I'm going to go in to my burnt sienna. And I'm going to mix this in with a little bit of the cadmium yellow. Now it is a full cadmium as well, and that is important to know because you do get your yellow mediums and stuff, and that means there's no cadmium in it, which then means that it isn't as strong a paint. This is actually one of the golden ranges from the golden range, and it is a great paint. But it's expensive.
Keeps has a question.
Whose has a question?
Whose is it?
No, who has a question?
Keeps, it's not a name I'm familiar with.
Okay.
Don't you paint the bottom of the little frog white? I mention it because that's my custom.
Well, the bottom of the frog white.
Presumably, they mean the body?
Well, the body of the frog is going to be like an off-white, but because I paint in layers, I'm painting the darker. I'm painting him dark first. Yeah, so what I'm doing at the moment, I've just introduced some Mars Black to my cadmium yellow, and mixing Mars Black and cadmium yellow together give you a dark olive green. So that's going to give me my very, very, very first layer of his body colour, of his underbelly colour. And then I'll start building it up as I go. See, so I'll lighten it. And then these are going to be the folds of his skin. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense.
So another way of describing it is you're building up from dark to light because as you're painting, that's how you form your shadows and
Yeah, it's how I
like the
form my
3D effect.
shadows. I don't form shadows afterwards. If I need to tidy shadows up afterwards, I will and I can. But because I work in layers, I work from dark to light, and that's how you should really use your acrylic paints, is working from dark to light. When you're using watercolours, you go the other way. When you're painting in watercolours, you start light and go dark. That's how I've been taught, and that's how I continue to paint. I hope that makes sense. Because he's got shadow underneath his chin. And then he's a bit of a tubby frog. He's had a few of his flies, so he's gonna have a little bit of a rubbly belly. He's gonna have, yes, a double bit, a double chin. A double chin. So that's the first layer of Mr. Frog. Wonderful. I hope that's explained good for you, okay? And I know Gertie is in chat, and Gertie is awesome with acrylic paint. And I know that Gertie can probably explain as well, because she is awesome. She's super. Thanks for asking.
Says he ate all the flybys.
He did. Right, I'm going into my phthalo green and cadmium yellow. And this is going to give me my darker, like my slightly lighter tone of green for the frog's actual top body of skin. And I know from he's going to be lighter on the tops of his eyes. And there's going to be some shadow, just like that. And we're going to have some lighter parts, and there's going to be other lighter parts. Might be here and around there. It depends on where light is hitting him. So you need to imagine or kind of work out in your head where your light source is coming from. But it's your painting, so you can make it up. If I go, I could decide, you know what, it's he's going to get light from over there. Oh, it's cascading down. Oh, I'm going to put a fairy by there. He's lit up now. Huzzah. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to follow any rules. You just go for it.
No, and Gert says she tends to do the opposite to you. But that is that, and you're going to paint how you're going to paint.
Yeah.
You'll find it easier different ways.
Yeah, definitely. It just depends on how you've learned.
I don't know how well my audio is going to be, just so you know. So.
Can you hear Martin talking? Can somebody let me know if they can actually hear Martin when he is speaking? He isn't mic'd up. I do have a mic we could have had on.
Yeah.
I've not tried the two mics yet.
Sorry.
So I just want to have my darker source of the eye there.
Faintly will be the best way. He's quiet.
That's okay. So you see what I've done there? So we're starting to bring some of the colour forward of his skin, of the actual top skin layer. And I'm going to go back into my darker tone there because he's got a lip. So I'm just going to tidy his lip up. And that's the great thing about using acrylics, is if you make a mistake, you can just wait for it to dry and then go back in again. And there's no, there's no harm there. if I was painting on a canvas, sorry, I was concentrating. This is why I do voiceovers. If I was painting on a canvas and I made a mistake, you have a few moments, if need be, to fix that mistake with a little bit of clean water and a clean brush, and you can often just erase it very, very quickly away. But when you're painting it on wood, it's a little bit more troublesome to do that. You've got to be really quick to it. And it's important to remember as well that acrylic paint dries darker. That is something very, very important to remember, that it does dry darker. So when you're doing your layers, you just need to be wary of that. So whilst I let this area have a dry, I'm going to come back down to his underbelly. And I'm just going to grab, I think I will go back into this one because he's more of a rough and ready one. And this is where I like to go more into it's almost dry brushing, but not dry brush, but kind of is. If I knew the term, I would totally tell you the term. But it is dry brushing, but not quite, but we're getting there. So I'm just using my towel to brush off the excess, just so I can come round here and start giving the lighter impressions. So it is more dry brushing, and dry brushing is your friend. And if you can learn to dry brush, it is such a great thing, especially on painting on stuff like wood and materials, because it works so beautiful. It's why I'm really loving painting on the EcoPore stuff at the moment, because you can just dry brush on and really start picking out those tones. Look at that. So that's already brightened him up, hasn't it? So that's really cool. And then I'll come back to this once that's had a little bit of a rest. We'll bring it forward again to slightly brighter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in now for the eyes. I can still see that the green tones are still a little bit damp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Mars Black and some burnt sienna. Now this is the very, very first element of the eyes. So it's the darkest. It's going to be very dark at first, and he's going to look kind of scary. And I know some people like scary. I like scary, but Froggies shouldn't be scary unless they're on Friday the 13th. So this is the first layer for the eyes. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the eyes forward as well. But eyes aren't one-dimensional, and I don't want them to look one-dimensional on this painting either. I want them to have shadow, and I want them to look like they're gonna, they could be properly looking at you. So that started the very first layer, because when you look at human eyes, your eyes aren't white. They're quite actually pinky. They're more of a pinky white when you properly do look at them. So that's what you're working on. But this Froggy is going to be having almost like a goldy yellow eyes, just to link him in a bit more with the rest of him. So next I'm going to go for the lighter tone, and this I'm going to use. It's the first time I'm ever trying this colour out, so I don't know what it's going to be like. But this is the new olive light green from Peebo. And I just want to get a little kiss of it by there, just to see how it looks. A lovely kiss. What are you laughing at? He's laughing at himself, guys.
Like a real quiet kiss, and that was it. That made me shut off.
So that's this newer green that I've picked up. And don't forget, I've got to give him his nostrils back as well because I coloured his nostrils in. But that's fine because I can always go back to them. And I'm going to give him another colour pop by here. And around by here. I will have to brush size down to get right round those corners because this brush is a bit too cumbersome for me to get round that spot. But I'm quite happy with the layers there. How's that looking so far? There we go. I should have had my second pot of water ready. I think I left it on the draining board. I didn't even fill it up.
No, don't forget it.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Oh, just gonna have a sippy. Gonna have a sippy of my squash. Don't forget a sippy. It's boiling. What's awesome as well about using those chalks is that when you're happy and your lines and you're done, you can just go like that with a slightly damp brush. Thank you. With a slightly damp brush, and it's gone. All the markings are gone away. Isn't that cool? Right, I'm going to go more into the cadmium yellow now. Less of the burnt sienna, heavier on the cadmium yellow. And I'm going to take excess off there. And I'm going to be going just round here like that. Is actually quite a simple, it's not going to be difficult. And I love doing eyes. I do love doing eyes when they work for me. But that is my beginning of my eye, of the next stage of the eye. Because I want him to look like, you know, they're really... I needed that colour. I want them to look like they're properly, like, gorgeously popping. That's the colour I was looking for on my palette. I went a bit too much into it. So I'm just knocking it back just a little bit round by there, because this is almost like the shadow. So the colour of the eye, where his eyes come out there, that's causing the shadow. But because they protrude, that's it, a little bit. That's why we're going to be getting our lighter spots towards the sides. There we go. He's looking good, isn't he? Our little froggy. And because I'm not as confident when it comes, I can't find my dotting tool. I've put my dotting tool down somewhere and I can't see it anywhere. That's typical, isn't it? It might be in this one. There it is, my dotting tool. Just a dotting tool, you know, the sort that you wear for hair. We all use them if you're here and you do a lot of the resin. You've got dotting tools. This is my arty one. I don't mess with resin with this one. And this is just because I want to give him his nozzle. And that's just going to give it to me a little bit more with control. I like that little bit of control there that gave. And I'm just going to go into my olive green again. And I'm just going to give that, just go around the nostril there. Like that, just to give him his little bit of a highlight on the top of the nostril, so we know that it's there. That's cool, isn't it? I like that. Froggy's looking awesome. I am aware that there are other people with Froggy Fridays going on, and I do apologise. So if you do need to go and watch them, absolutely go see them. But I'm awesome.
Remember to come back.
I remember. Don't forget me. I'm just adding in a few darker spots. I could see there that I could still see a little bit of the blue coming through. And I just want to rehash some of the darker spots that I did have originally and just mix those in there. See, that's what's so awesome about painting with acrylics. So he's starting to look like he's got a little bit of life now, doesn't he? Janet, honestly, if you've got a creative bone in your body and you want to learn, you can learn. Honestly, it is one of the best things you'll ever do. And I can only recommend the Art Sherpa. Now, she's no longer with us. She was my art teacher and my friend. She is no longer with us, sadly. We lost her at Christmas time, and it's awful that we did. But there's still hundreds and hundreds of videos available, and she's who taught me. You know, I've been painting for 5 years, but it wasn't until I met her and found her channel that I really started to be able to paint properly, because she taught me how. What I'm doing here is I'm just going to add in some like blades of grass for flowers. Just start bringing that in. And I'm just going into the already mixed pieces of green that I've already got going on. And then I can add more yellow to it if I want to brighten it up. You can add bits of white, the titanium white, to it as well to brighten it up again. It's completely up to you how you want to do it. It's going round there. And I'm just using a bright. You know, this is a bright. It's like a square brush. It's one of these. Yeah. Oh, that's an angle. Well, that one didn't help. You did a... It's just basically one of these. It's square top, but it's smaller. You know, use as many brushes as you need to. You can stick to one brush, a favourite brush, or whatever, but there we go. And I'm just going to add some more shadowing down there, because it would get a little bit darker towards the stalk, and then blend it in. Once you learn your layers and your blending, it comes almost like magic. Once you realise what it is in where layers are concerned, it really is just like that. And I just might go into a little bit of the white just to bring in a lighter tone. Maybe it's picking up some light over there. Maybe there's a fairy. We like fairies. Do you like fairies? Tap, 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 tap. Marrying that up a bit. Tap, tap, tap. Just like that. Just practically dancing. Dancing the brush. Tap, tap, taps like that. And we're tapping away. Like this. And he's getting his little pops of colour. Not liking it, go back into your darker colour and go back over. That's how fab it is to paint. You can just go back over and take it out and go, nope, don't like it. And erase it, basically. It never happened. It never happened. There we are, just giving that brush a clean. And I'm going to take my cadmium yellow and go into this light olive green. And I want to get a really beautiful pop. I think that's a bit too wet. There we go. I want to give him more of a pop, a pretty pop right up here. How's everyone doing in chat? Are we still there? Have they all gone? I'm asking you.
No, everyone's all good.
So here's another highlight coming. Look at that. He's giving a kiss. Mwah. So we're getting little lighter spots around his face and down by here. I love giving these like lighter kisses of spot of colour. It's just really cool. Is when you can really start, you know, bringing them to life a bit. So bringing that up there like that. I think he looks quite cheeky actually. He looks like a cheeky chap. There we go. So I'm going to come back down to his body, to his underbelly again. Now I don't want his underbelly to be popping white. I don't want it to be popping white because it wouldn't be. He's a frog. So I'm going back into the titanium white with a bit of the yellow that I had mixed in, but I'm adding more of the white to it, and then I'm brushing off like this onto my towel. Always have paper towel. It's a tool. And then just at parts, not all of it, little pops here and there of that whiter yellow, the yellowy white, just to give us that impression that there's light source. I think he's looking down at the pond, so he's like on the edge of a pond and the colours come in, you know, there's some light from the moon and it's coming down, so we're catching him looking up. How's that? That looking good? Tuppence, I am going to have a Magnum after this. I can't wait to have my Magnum. Just saw ice cream and I'm like, I'm having ice cream. Sorry about that noise then. There we go. Right, next, I'm going to come back into his eye. And what I'm going to do with the eye is I'm going to move that paint over to here so I've got better purchase. The tiniest, and I mean the smallest amount of burnt sienna and heavier on the yellow. Brushing it off onto there. And then I'm going to tap out. Just like that. Just the smallest little tap out. And that is going to give him his beautiful glow around his eyes without really trying that hard. How's that? How's that looking?
Tiffany Smith's got a question.
Yes, Tiffany Smith.
Have you ever used your painted kitchen rolls in resin?
No, but that's a really interesting idea. If I was to seal it first with some Mod Podge. This one I've had going for a few months now, and I've got another one down there that I've had going for absolute months. I really do make these kitchen rolls last, because it's almost like, I treat it almost like a dry palette, because when it all dries on there, when it starts all dry and it gets really hard and tough, so you can just like brush your paint off on it, giving you
good for dry brushing as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's a dry
Yeah.
brush palette type thing.
Yeah.
Right, I'm having a swiggy. It is absolutely boiling.
It's fine.
Mm. Martin's holding his up. It is a bit of a state, I gotta be honest. I need my titanium white. Excuse you. I forgot to get it ready. So I'm just grabbing it. Right, I do have titanium white. Yes, I do have it on my palette, but that's just the normal acrylic. This is the fluid golden titanium white, and I like to use this when I'm doing eyes, when I need to get really in there. Right, well, it's exactly what it says on the bowl. It's fluid, so I get a bit more control with it. I'm just trying to find one of my tiniest, titchiest brushes. Where's my tiny thin brush that I like to use? I put it somewhere safe. There it is. I'm good at doing that. So this is a monogram liner. This is from, I think, Silver Brush. So it is just really nice and gives me some control. And if you're ever uncertain, you can always get your palette or a bit of scrap paper and just line it off and just practice with your lines if you're comfortable with them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this inside the eye, and he's got a tear duct by here, but he's not crying, don't worry. Need a bit more paint on there. And I want it to appear like his eye is actually a little bit wet. So what I'm doing, when I can get enough paint on there, is just go around slightly. This isn't working for me. I need an even littler one. There's an even littler one. There we go. You can't even see that one. It's too thick. That one was too thick. So I can go around, and then you do a thin and dots, and that's how you get your impression of having that eye that's a little bit wet and actually alive. So around again, just round there, like that. And we can also put our little dot of reflection up here into there, up here into there. How's that? So what I've created there, if I've given him a little bit of character now in his eyes, so they're looking. Yes, Tiffany. You're making them look moist. You're so funny. Ah, yes, Julie E. This is a portrait of Julie E. I stole a picture, and this is Julie E. So this brush, this is an army painter brush. It is basically, you can't see it. But it's ideal for stuff like that. It is really, really cool for stuff like that. Right. Are we happy? How is that looking? Is little Froggy. Now, just because I pulled the colour out, I pulled out this ultramarine violet. I'm going to mix it with the phthalo blue, because who wants waste? Now, I'm not one for painting flowers. It's not my bag, baby. If you can, all the power to you. I cannot. I'm not a fan of it. Don't like it. So there. So I'm gonna make up some flowers. So I'm gonna do a dot, and a dot, just like that. Just like that. Dot, 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 and another one. I think the only thing I can paint really good with flowers is daisies. I've tried doing things like daffodils and stuff like that, and it hasn't worked out for me. So that's just my first impression of an iris, maybe. These look like irises, but they're not real irises. They're what's the word? Fantasy irises. Yes. Fantasy irises. I'm going to put one by there as well. And you could have done blueberries. Or boobies.
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 No boobies.
No boobies. I'm going to put some up there as well. Boop. So that's the beginning bit of that. We're not going to worry if it's not too dry, because I'll just go over it again anyway. And if you would like, well, that was clever of me. What's that? 2 seconds. A piece of the wood just came away. I was sitting right there. I wondered what it was.
Oh.
Yeah, teenage stage. So if you would like a very quick, really awful lesson on a daisy, I can do that. So yellow and burnt sienna, just there. Can you see that? Yes, you can see that. That's okay. And then into my phthalo blue and titanium white. Titchy touch of the black. And it's Mars black I'm using. And that gives that lovely, lovely dark blue. And what I do then is 1, 2, petal, petal, petal. And it doesn't matter if it's mixed in a little bit, because this is the undercoat of your daisy. And then we're going to go on top of that with some of the, more of the titanium white. But it's already given us that little bit of the shadow that you would see underneath. So I'm going back into that lovely ultramarine violet and phthalo blue, because it's party time, it's Friday, why not? And I'm going to go back on there. I forgot I had this lighter blue. Boop, 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 like that. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, I'm doing the sound effects as well. You're so lucky. Boop, boop. Oh, we've got one down here as well. So boop, boop, boop. And I'm just mixing that lovely purple with that lovely blue, just to give a little bit of a different colour going on. Has everybody left yet?
August.
I do want to give another pop in his eye. And this time, whilst those are having a rest a minute, I'm just going to move that because I'm going to keep putting my wrist in there. So I'm just going to go directly now into the cadmium yellow. No other colour added to that. And just pop, 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 pop. Just around the outside of his eye. Not a lot, but a little bit there. He needs a bit more on the other eye. So that gives us that extra, just that extra little pop there of that colour. And now I don't even mind that it's still wet, because I want it to be of the darker variety. That's what she said. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of a boop like that with the darker colours, because I never actually planned on doing these. So just adding that in there. And I'm going to go back into the titanium white. And it's more titanium white than phthalo blue now. A little bit off the brush. And I'm going to go on the edge of the flower here and plop it down, 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 down. Down. Like that. Looks like it's going to rain. Be nice if it rained. I like rain. I'm also going to come back to my froggy bottom. Oh dear. Just tap out on there a minute. A bit of that olive green with the titanium fluid white. The fluid white is a lot more of a powerful colour than the titanium white itself. And that will give us that final highlight that I want on his actual skin. So coming round there, coming round here, just on the tip of his lip there. He's a handsome boy, isn't he? So that's made him little pop. That's made him pop a bit. Let's bring it out to the camera because I'm aware that I've got lights on, so it's picking up a little bit of a glare. How we going? Hello, James.
Good set to leave for Nikki's.
Yeah, good. Moderating in there as well. I didn't expect to go this long. Sorry, guys. I kind of should have known, to be honest with you, but sometimes I'm quicker and sometimes I'm not with painting. So I'm just gone back into the white now, and I'm just going to give the final almost dry brush effect on the end of these daisies, because we've given it the darker tone, and now I'm just giving it that kiss there. And while I'm here, I'm also going to give the final highlight dashing over on his belly, and that looks wonderful, I think. So just a few more little highlights and we're going to be done. And what I'm going to do is I need some highlights in the flowers, I should say, and just going straight in with the cadmium yellow. And because it is a cadmium yellow, it's going to take the colours better. If you're not able to use a cadmium yellow and you're using the medium yellows, you might have to do a white undercoat first before putting your yellow on. It is a pain in the bum, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles with the way acrylics work. And on top of the burnt sienna, I'm just giving it that dab on top with the cadmium yellow. I want to leave the darker tone of the cadmium yellow and burnt sienna just underneath and give it an extra pop on the top. And as I said, don't forget that as your paint dries, it goes darker. So you've always got to be aware of that little point. So it's never really going to look exactly as it is right now. So what I'm doing is I'm going into my white again and my blue and purple just to give it a last kiss of colour just over the tops of these colours. I'm not going all in because I like the fact that it looks like there's lots of colour going on in there and it's darker in the middle because of the way the light is touching it. You can let the imagination and the brain take everything else from that. You know, it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect when it comes to flowers. One more pop. like that. So our daisies come more into it now. So it's a really quick, simple way of doing some daisies. Just remember your layers. So all you've got to do is remember those layers. And I'm just going back into the yellow. And I want to add more pop onto the very tip of the top of the daisy. And I do want to add another just tiny pop of colour there onto the Froggy's eye. And there we go. I think that he is done. What do you think? I've really enjoyed painting him with you today. I winged it as usual. It's my favourite thing to do.
Actually, you do like putting wings on frogs when you do.
I do like putting wings on frogs. I do. But today I think that would be it would be quite technical to do. And I don't think my brain can manage that today. I really want to splatter on it. I really want to do like a splatter, but I think it would take away from the loveliness of his eyes. The only other option is just for me to cover up that part and give some stars up in the sky. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to be really careful. I'm going to use my kitchen roll. And I'm going to go like this. Ready? Are we ready? Pop. And we've got some stars in the sky. Ta-da! Isn't that pretty? I've enjoyed doing that. That was great fun. Okay, guys. I'm really appreciative of you being with me for just over an hour. And I am sorry to any other creators that I've taken time over with. But I would like to offer this as a gift. And what I'm going to do is, if you would like to win this, and I will possibly very lightly give it a covering of UV as well, so it's lovely and glowy. So what I will do is, all you have to do in the comments to win this painting, obviously you have to be a subscriber, and I can check on that. You have to like and you need to comment. And within your comments, all you have to do is a green heart and a frog emoji. Just the little face of the frog, green heart and the frog emoji. And I will enter you then to win this. And I don't mind where you are in the world. I really don't. It is lightweight. It is a lovely wooden slice, and I will be varnish sealing it. And as I said, I might also be giving it a epoxy resin coating on top. Excuse the meowing, our stray cat has just turned up. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I really do hope that you are inspired. If you would like the chance to win, please do give it a go and enter. I'd be really pleased to know that somebody has this guy hanging up on their wall somewhere in the world. I just think he's got a lovely little face on him. And he will get a Nerd Goblin stamp on the back as well. So please check out the playlist below. Thank you so much for coming. Love you all very, very, very much. And this should be available on the replay. And I have to figure out how to stop this from playing. Oh my goodness. I hope you've all had a good time. And I will see you on tomorrow. We've got axolotl, a lot of axolotls tomorrow. Be in the frog hat. The frog and the hat needs to be in the actual comments. So the video, I should be able to sort it out. I will be able to sort it out. Right then. Ha 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 ha. There's the image I had, by the way. That's the image I found. And that's what I used from it. So I never copy them completely. I just use them as an idea. Okay. I am now going to try and figure out how to turn you off. I hope to see you guys tomorrow. I'll be in the premiere for Axolotl, same time as usual, 7 p.m. British Summer Time. Thank you. Bye 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 bye.